presented by Eventide Entertainment. Hello, my lovely Lilin. My name is Robert Yetter, and this is Nerd Versus. Now, last week I perhaps upset a goodly portion of the Nerdiverse for selecting Path of Exile over Diablo 3. I haven't felt the sting of any hexes yet, and my soul is still intact, so I think maybe some people agreed with me. I did give high praise to both games, though, but one mechanic in Path of Exile pushed it past Diablo 3. Sometimes just one little thing is all that matters more. Now, today's episode, we are going to be discussing dub anime versus sub anime. Now, it occurs to me that battles on this show so far have been what I call atoms, the originals, versus something derivative of those originals. Path of Exile would not exist without the first Diablo. Force of Will would not exist without Magic the Gathering. And today's battle is no different. Dub anime would not exist without its original. This is the fact that sits atop every discussion and gives the initial edge to the atom. I just want to throw that out there as a responsible third party, something to consider in any judgment of this nature. Now, you may be thinking of how purely of preferential nature my contenders are and what sort of reasoning could I possibly give that goes beyond base opinion to justify one or the other being better. Well, as in previous shows, I will compare and contrast the two using several categories, and whichever takes the most categories will be declared the winner. And for contenders such as these, contenders in which taste is the real crux, I attempted to shape the categories to contain as much objective data as possible. I know I probably don't have to mention this because the title of the episode implicates this, but just as a disclaimer, this discussion is going to be mostly geared towards an English-speaking audience, specifically in the United States. It's a fairer fight in that regard for the purposes of this comparison. So let's get started. For dub anime versus sub anime, I developed 4 categories. Category 1 is availability. Where is anime available? And within those available platforms, is dub or sub more represented? Category 2 is popularity. Which has more viewers and which do these viewers prefer? Category 3 is quality. Which has the better quality voice acting, and which has better interpretations in translation of the original language. Number 4, and this is the as always category, is my personal experience. What is my history with the two contenders, and which do I enjoy more? Okay, so category number 1, availability. The availability of anime is rampantly spreading. You can watch anime on all the huge streaming applications of this day and age, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and you've got your pure anime streamers like Crunchyroll and Funimation now, Daisuki, and anime is available on TV as well. And then certainly we can't beat around the bush on Kiss Anime. You all know what I'm talking about. Don't even pretend. If you really need to watch any anime known to the world, you can do it, but you must deal with a truly awful website that it feels like your computer is dying just having that website open in your browser. But it's, everything is on there. Anime is less available physically here in the US. FYE normally has an okay selection. Best Buy has literally none. They have maybe 2 in there. Second and Charles has a great selection. I even found an Evangelion Perfect Collection at a second-hand Charles, which I did not get because the Perfect Collection is kind of subpar quality as opposed to the Platinum Collection. But the Platinum Collection is also over $100. And that's another story for another time. But second-hand Charles is a really cool store, and we don't have one up here where I am, and it hurts. So it's not easy to find physical anime. Even stores that sell anime merchandise are lacking on physical DVDs or Blu-rays of anime. Your best bet is to hit up Amazon if you have to have something physically or can't find it streaming anywhere. Now to the big question. Is dub or sub more represented on these platforms available in the US? And the answer is definitively sub. Take the two biggest mainstream streaming apps. Mainstream streaming app. That's a weird combo. Mainstreamers. There we go. Netflix and Hulu. Every anime that they offer on their applications comes with an option to choose the original language with subtitles or the English dubbed version. And again, this is a case of the atom and the derivative. The sub version is always going to be beneath a dub version. And so the sub has the upper hand every time as far as availability goes. Now, a little different scenario is Crunchyroll and Funimation. This episode could actually almost be just a battle between these two because Crunchyroll offers very little dubbed episodes. Looking on their site, they have approximately 50 shows that are dubbed out of the 800 plus shows that they have to offer. And then Funimation, on the other hand, is widely known as the dubbers. You know, the majority of popular shows coming out of Japan are dubbed by Funimation. And their application, which in my personal experience lacks stability versus Crunchyroll, but that's a whole nother argument, offers roughly 400 shows, almost all dubbed in English. So, just looking at the numbers, sub-anime wins in this category for being more widely available. So far, that is dub 0, sub 1. Next category is popularity. Crunchyroll is the winner, hands down when it comes to viewership. So that implies that what people really want is more anime, more genres of anime, and they want it sooner. The audience that is more passionate about anime and wants to see less mainstream anime choose to watch sub-anime. To take it even further, when perusing the comments section on a site such as Kiss Anime, also, if you dare, or browsing certain forums, right, most viewers like to bash the dub watchers. In part, this reinforces a certain otaku identity factor, right? You get more otaku points for being more deeply connected to the source material. But anime as a whole is very popular in the United States. But I'm going to give this category to sub-anime because it's the choice of true anime lovers. So that quick category, that brings us to dub 0, sub 2. Now let's take a little break and listen to some messages.
You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company. Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes. Wednesdays on Eventide, Robert Yetter and Mike Shea sit down and throw albums at each other, talking about them, picking them apart, ripping them a new one. All different artists, all different genres, all different levels of suckage. It's Track Record, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. on the Eventide podcast feed. For more information, go to eventideent.com.
Okay, and we're back here on Nerd Versus. We just discussed two categories, popularity and availability of dub versus sub anime. We have our next category is quality. Now, this category is more often than not the root of the argument for this discussion. On one hand, you have the original voice actors whose language and inflection more accurately portray the characters in the anime. And the crux is that most people in the US don't know Japanese or must resort to English subtitles. So sub-anime means you get the better quality voice acting in a language sense. Not always will the production quality be good, but it must be read in order to understand what is happening. Then on the other hand, you have voice actors that are working from a translation and whose language might not have room for the same subtleties or inflections as the original language, but that itself has its own quality that is unique and gives freshness to the script. Watchers in the US can experience the story of the anime while keeping their eyes glued to the action. Now the question becomes, well, how many good quality dubs are there that do the original justice? And if you do some perusing into this on the interwebs, you'll find that the answer is not many. Many comment sections and forums display discontent with the quality of dubs. Now, personally, I'm on the fence. There are some dubs that are just horrible. One my wife showed me was Negima, and Excel Saga, also another one that she showed me. And she kindly reminded me that they probably made the woman's voice in Excel Saga so annoying on purpose, but I can't stand that really annoying, just like rambly, high-pitched voice. But then on the other side, you have, on the sub side, you have, like, the one that sticks out to me most is Dragon Ball Z. Like, that's such a weird voice for Goku, in my opinion. And I know that over there that they often do, I guess they do it here too a lot. They have females voicing male characters or vice versa. So I think that this category has to be a tie. Because there are merits and drawbacks to each side, but I don't think that the quality of dubs is bad enough as a whole. And we're not talking about fan dubs here, you people. It's not bad enough as a whole to make it less of a contender in this category. So that brings us to Dub 1, Sub 3. It looks like Dub is in trouble. Okay. Now, our last category is my personal experience with these two contenders. And personally, I have always enjoyed dub anime more because I delve very little into the more obscure titles. And that doesn't mean that I don't watch sub anime, but it is a less likely occurrence. It really depends on the anime for me. Some anime are so beautifully animated, you don't want to take your eyes away to read the subtitles, and you can just be lazy and just watch. But some anime have such an engrossing story that I would happily read the subtitles if it meant experiencing something special. And what it comes down to for me is a perfect harmony between great story and great animation that I could just sit down and effortlessly watch. So for me, I choose dub anime. And that brings our grand total to Dub 2, Sub 3. Alright, now, when I first expressed an interest in doing this podcast, I thought that I would be taking two things from nerd culture and just ripping one and praising the other the whole time. Because I thought it would be funny if someone was, cool, and a nice discussion. You know, they hit click. And I thought it would be funny if someone was expecting, you know, a nice discussion on the pros and cons of two things, and they just got a total bias explosion instead. But the conclusion of this episode has made me realize that I have actually taken a more objective stance on these battles. And that is actually for the better, because it is better to have an argument than to emptily voice one's opinion. And that is something I think people these days need to remember. Sorry to get deep on you peoples. Lovely Lillian, I'm sorry. But I believe that. And so, there you have it. In the battle of sub-anime versus dub-anime, sub-anime wins. And as always, I thank you for listening to this episode of Nerd Versus, presented by Eventide Entertainment. I'm Robert Yetter, and I'll see you next time.